Hi everybody, JD Blackrose, Real Talk Writer here. I'm going to try to address a topic that is controversial. It shouldn't be, but it is. This is the pantsing versus plotting topic. It should not be controversial, but people are like unusually married to their style of writing. And so sometimes it gets a little heated in these discussions. It's weird, but it does. One of the reasons is a very well-known and famous way of plotting is this. It's called Save the Cat, and it's by Blake Snyder. And you can find that one. That's the original one. That's the one that has to deal with screenwriting, which is where that started. And then this is the one that looks for the novel. It doesn't really matter which one you use. The screenwriting one has movie examples and the novel one has book examples, but the principles are exactly the same. And it's based on something called story beats. And when I first started writing, I did not understand the whole idea of outlining. That made no sense to me. Like, I didn't even know what that meant. Outlining to me was what you learned when you were in elementary school, you know, capital letter A, Roman numeral 1. And I couldn't see how that had anything to do with writing. It literally just made no sense to me. So I was a pretty committed discovery writer, or pantser, because you're writing by the seat of your pants. And eventually that stopped working for me because I had deadlines. So that was fine. Pantsing often can work really, really well if you're sort of like discovering what you're kind of trying to write, and you're sort of feeling your way through the story, and you have a lot of time to do that. But if you have a deadline, it's not as helpful. It's not really the greatest way to go, because you're going to take a lot of twists and turns that you have to sort of double back. And that's, again, I'm not saying one is better than the other. I'm just simply saying that they have strengths and weaknesses. One of the beautiful things about pantsings is sometimes you're just surprised, like something new happens that you never expected. But with plotting, you can stay on track a lot easier. And if you have a deadline, that's pretty important. I find myself plantsing, which is a combination of the two. So I plot, and then within that, I leave a lot of room for discovery writing, for that pantsing kind of thing, like where I'm like, okay, they show up at the plot point is that Bex and Gregory have a fight, and it's basically about this. But how that fight's going to go, I don't know. I let that part sort of unravel as I'm writing. So those are really what we're talking about. There's pantsing, writing by the seat of your pants, discovery writing. There's plotting, which is a much more controlled kind of process, and that outline can be as long as short as you need it, or it can be somewhere in between. And as I said, they both have strengths or weaknesses, and I'm not saying that one is better than the other, but we find ourselves falling on one side or the other in our own work. When I first started and couldn't understand what plotting even meant, I did find the Save the Cat process. This is the Save the Cat screenwriting. This is the Save the Cat novel. The story beats are the story beats. They're the same thing. It's like an opening image. There's a midpoint. There's one called All Is Lost. It just is a way of thinking about a story so that it takes us on a journey that is satisfying to the viewer or reader. And once I found that, it made so much more sense to me, and I have since become a plotter. As I said, with a lot of room for discovery, but pretty much a plotter using this method. I have since learned that some people, as many people who love this method, hate this method, saying that Blake Snyder, who was the one who wrote it originally, created it originally, was, not really a successful screenwriter, and he didn't know what he was talking about, and it's a complete claptrap and waste of time. You know what? I don't know. It works for me. That's all I can say. But there are other books out there, tons of them. This one is called Story Fix. I have a friend who loves that. Someone was just talking about how great Story Genius is. I did like this, Thanks, But It Isn't For Us. As you can see, I have lots of stickies. And there's another one called Take Off Your Pants, which is a good small book about sort of moving from pantsing to plotting. And so look at these books to try to find out what is going to work for you. And remember that there's no wrong way and there's no right way. It is just what works for you to do this. And this is the measure of success. Does that process help you finish your stuff? That's the question you have to ask yourself. Does it help you finish? If you're not finishing anything and you're just pantsing your butt off, you're not helping yourself. Try plotting. Really give it a go. Find a method that works for you and try it, because you are never going to get anything published if you can't get anything finished. And that's just the bottom line. So whatever process works for you so that you can finish your stuff, that process is fine. If you are unable to finish your stuff, then you need to change. That's what you need to be asking yourself. And if you are able to finish your stuff, but it's always late, you need to change there too. Because the goal of a writer is to finish, and to finish on time, and to be ready for edits, and be open and accepting the edits, but that's an entirely different topic. So make sure that whatever process you're using helps you tell a story from beginning to end on time. And if you're able to do those things, great, then you're being a success. But that's really what you need to talk about. That's really what you need to think about as you're approaching your writing. And if you're having trouble with the whole plotting thing, I still do recommend the Save the Cat process. But again, any of those books can be really, really helpful. And if you have suggestions, drop them in the links below, and we'll, in the comments below, and people can, check all those resources out. Okay, thanks a lot. Take care. Bye.